Kimberly from Dirt Floor Fibers, and welcome back to another kind of a week in review or a month in review. I don't even know what this is anymore. If you saw one of my previous videos, you know that my goal was for this summer to do kind of a weekly recap at the end of each week. But it's really felt like, I don't know, like I've been working a lot, but I haven't really been accomplishing anything. And so at the end of the week, I'm like, what am I going to show people? Stuff they've already seen. And so I've kind of put it off. But for the last couple of weeks, I tried something different, and I was kind of making little videos along the way. But I kept never getting a chance to actually sit down and do kind of an intro and do kind of the knitting aspects of everything. So that's what I'm trying to do today. Today is, I don't even know, Wednesday, July, something with a 20 in it, 24 maybe. And so I was running errands earlier today, got home, and I'm like, wow, it's starting to cloud up. Looks like we might get a storm. Checked the temperature, and I was like, hey, look, it's only a 99-degree heat index, so it's a perfect day for filming. And of course, I get out here and you can see in the background right there, my neighbor 2 houses over has decided to mow his lawn. He wasn't mowing when I got home, so I ran inside, grabbed all my stuff, got set up outside, and then he pulls out the tractor. Look at that. And you can see it's getting cloudier, so I'm like, oh, I have to beat this storm and get this finished. So despite the noise in the background, I'm just gonna kind of keep going because I have got to get this done and stop looking for perfection. So here we go. So what has happened over the last 3 weeks? I actually have 2 finished objects, which, wow, holy cow, that never happens. A couple of new cast-ons, some progress on something I've been working on. A couple of fails, including one project I had to completely frog. And if you've been following my Instagram, you know that I have some new friends. So I have footage of all of that I'll kind of put in. Oh, and Pippa's been getting some lessons as well. So I'm gonna put all those things in kind of as they've happened, as I've filmed them. But I wanted to start out with just kind of like the knitting aspects of everything and what has been going on for the last, like 2.5, 3 weeks or so. Why don't we go ahead and start with the fails. 2.5 weeks ago, I don't know, maybe something like that. Whatever week it was, July 10th was sock week. If you follow Nitty Natty and do her sock week challenge, I decided, because I haven't really done a lot of socks, I do a lot of Colonial Williamsburg stockings, but I don't really finish a lot because they're, you know, gigantic. So I thought, you know what, a sock in a week would be a really, really fun challenge. I picked out the everyday sock pattern, which is a shorty with a little heel tab, which I've been wanting to try for a while. I tend to wear shorty socks more than tall socks. So I picked up that pattern, was super, super excited, got everything ready. Now the yarn I first decided to try, see if I can find it here in my pile. This I got at the Maryland Sheep and Wool. Spent all day hunting down a 100% wool fingering weight like sock yarn, and this is actually really, really cool. I don't know if I can get it into focus. Come on now. I don't know, but it's a 2-ply, and you can see kind of that the 2 plies are different colors. There's like a lighter pink and then more of a kind of a maroon brown sort of color. It doesn't look very pretty on the camera. The camera's making it very yellow because of this lighting, but it's actually really, really nice color. And it's rustic because it is 80% Romney / Border Leicester and only 20% Merino. And so because of that, it doesn't really need the nylon in it to make a nice pair of socks. I love sock yarn like this. So this is from Distal Fink. I think they're out of Pennsylvania is what that says on here. They do have a website, so check them out. This is the terracotta colorway. Like I said, really, really nice, love it. Here's the thing. I didn't really realize when I balled it up, got it all ready, that it is a little bit of a finer fingering weight. It's a little bit thinner, especially when you kind of pull it tight to knit with it. So I did a gauge swatch for the everyday sock, which I never do a gauge swatch. This was something new. And I was like at 7.5, no, I was at 10 stitches to 1 inch, width-wise. Yeah, 10 stitches to 1 inch. And the pattern was calling for like 7.5 to 1 inch. And so obviously that was not gonna work because I'd have to cast on so many stitches and then I'd have to do math. And I was like, I'm not going to do math on sock week. I just need something that I can cast on and go for. So I kind of put this away, decided I would wait and save it for a pair of 18th century stockings, because I found a reference to what they called clouded stockings, which was basically a 2-ply yarn of 2 different colors, one color for each ply, put it that way. And then stockings were knit out of that. And so there's actually references to like runaway ads and things, people wearing clouded stockings. So I'm gonna save that for a pair of clouded stockings, because I really, really like that yarn. And in desperation, because it was Monday of sock week at that point, I ran over to Flying Needles in Williamsburg and picked up a skein of Robin's Promise. I didn't bring the tag out with me, but this is, I think it's called Pheasant's Eye. Really, really pretty color. I normally don't buy a lot of Robin's Promise yarn, just because it's all a nylon blend, and you know I try to avoid nylon blends, but I was desperate. I just needed a sock yarn, so I was like, it's fine, whatever. And I really, really liked this color. It's like a burnt orange with little flecks of like black or brown in it. Really, really pretty. And so I didn't even bother with a gauge swatch this time, because I figured slightly heavier weight fingering, it'll be perfect. I even went up a needle size, because I was also using a smaller size needle. And I'm like, it'll be perfect. And so I start knitting, and this is how far I got by the following Saturday. And I really do love the sock pattern itself, at least what it looks like. It's got this really great heel tab, which is actually a folded hem. And so what you did was you did German short rows to do shaping, and then it folded in, it is raining right now, guys. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm gonna talk faster. German short rows, and then you fold it and then knit it together to do a folded hem. And then it has a traditional heel flap in gusset with kind of the slip stitch on the heel, which I love doing that because it makes a really nice strong heel. And then it continues with that slip stitch pattern on the foot of the sock. And so it creates kind of like a cinch around your arch. So I really, really like this. So downside, it's too small. I tried it on as I was working on it, and when it was back before the slip stitch on the arch, I could get this part onto my foot. It felt small, but I thought maybe it was just because I had the needles in there. So I was gonna keep going and just push through sock week and get it done, and then, you know, frog them or give them away if I didn't like it. And then on Saturday, as I was pushing myself to get through more and more of the foot of the sock so I could finish up the toe on Sunday and finish on time, it's raining more. Hang in there. I have such bad luck, guys, such bad luck. Anyway, I put it on. I couldn't even get this part up past my foot. Like, it got stuck at like the ball of my foot. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It has like very little stretch to it. And it's pouring. Hang on a second. I'm gonna go relocate. All right, so we just plain old relocated upstairs. You can see my work table set out behind me filled with projects, but no, so it started raining harder. And I had a little cardboard box that I was using as a table. And so I just threw all my stuff in the cardboard box, threw everything in my mudroom. And at first I was like, maybe I can just film from my mudroom. And then I couldn't get my camera far enough away. And I was like, well, that's not gonna work. So then I was like, maybe I'll just wait out the storm. You know, it's Virginia, 5 minutes, it'll stop raining. So I was standing outside and it was actually sprinkling a little bit less. I'm like, okay, this has promise. And then it started pouring again. So I'm like, darn. So I ended up carrying everything upstairs, but in the few minutes that it all had been jumbled around in the cardboard box, it took me like the last 15 minutes to untangle everything. So here's to me and my luck. It's also starting to thunder, so poor Anya, my precious baby, she is hiding underneath the stool that I'm sitting on right now because she's not a big fan of the thunder. So you might hear her in a little bit begging for some comfort, but hopefully she'll be okay. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, our epic sock fail. So everyday sock, and I kind of wish I had read the reviews about the pattern first, A lot of people were in the kind of reviews and the conversation, the questions, asking about like stitch counts that didn't quite line up. I know she had made some corrections because there was like a comment in the YouTube video. There's a YouTube video that goes along with it that kind of shows you all the techniques, that she had made some row count corrections, but some things still don't really line up. And I don't know what kind of gauge this person has, but even using bigger needles, having, you know, a thicker yarn, it's still way off. And I'm not that tight of a knitter. So I really do like this sock pattern. I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and frog this because I do like the color of the yarn, even with the nylon in it. It is very nice. I do like it. I'm going to frog it, and then I'll go ahead and do the pattern again, but this time I'm going to go up maybe even one more needle, although I really like this kind of fabric. I don't know, maybe I will actually have to gauge swatch it this time. Either go up a needle or make the size larger, which is the biggest size, or maybe do both and hope that it fits. And then I think instead of doing the heel flap and gusset, even though I really like that slip stitch pattern on the heel, I might try the fish lips kiss heel. So I've been wanting to try, I've been hearing a lot from people, so I might just give that a go. But so that's epic fail, that's gonna have to be frogged. I do have another epic fail, not in knitting though. Set that to the side. So I had some recycled sari silk ribbon yarn that I had ordered, and I was like, I'm gonna dye some of it up because I wanted to make some like wrap bracelets. I had an idea for some really cute earrings, and then I was even gonna try spinning it up on my wheel because it did have a lot of like the threads pulling out, and I'm like, I don't know if I could sell it to somebody because that'd be a pain to wind up. But I thought maybe if I gave it a little bit of a spin first, maybe even plied it together, it would look really, really cool. So this is what it ended up turning out like. It's actually, I really like the color. It looks very antique. You can see it has a nice kind of a sheen or a shine to it. And it's mostly green with these little pops of gold. So I absolutely adore the color. But the color won't stop bleeding. No matter how much I have rinsed it, I have used soap with it. I actually threw everything back into a pot with more vinegar on the stove and boiled the absolute tar out of it, and the color is still coming out of it. So the skein itself is not really getting any lighter in color, but I can't make something out of it or sell it to somebody and then have somebody go out like in the rain and then have their earrings drip onto their shirt, or have, you know, they make a scarf out of it and their scarf bleeds all over everything. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I don't know. So I've only did 2 skeins. I think I have like 4 more left. I might try just spinning up the plain. I might try boiling this again, but I'm just really disappointed because it's in theory 100% silk. The dye should have stuck to it. So another epic fail. We'll put this to the side and I'll see if I can salvage it later or find a cool project to use it for. So sorry, silk didn't work out so well. Let's see, what do we want to do next? Let's do works in progress. So something that I showed you last time I did one of these videos is I was working on another Colonial Williamsburg stocking, and my goal is to have it finished by the end of summer. It's not finished yet, it's still a work in progress, but I've been working a lot at night, and so I've gotten pretty far on the foot. So the last time I showed it to you, I was actually about halfway through, maybe less than halfway through the heel flap, and I finished the heel flap, did the short rows to turn it, did a 3 needle bind off to connect the 2 halves of the heel together, picked up stitches for the gusset, worked the gusset, and now I'm working on the foot. It's all even rounds at this point, but you can see it has this kind of this make one that I changed my mind like halfway through like 12 times, where I was doing kind of like a make one right, make one left sort of deal. And then I was like, no, but I like the yarn over, so it gives like the V shape. So I went back to doing it. It didn't really specify, just said to make, did it say make one or increase one? I can't remember. But I ended up doing a yarn over. So I got this really nice V-shaped pattern on the bottom, and I'm almost finished. I just have, let's see, there's 2 left by my stitch markers. So that means I have 8 more rows, I think, to get rid of these guys, and then I'll be able to just start working, playing around, and then it'll be time for the toe. So I think if I keep working on these the same pace, I'll definitely be able to finish at least one of my stockings by the end of summer. And unlike my other sock, these actually fit. Yay. Okay, so that's my 18th century colonial sock that I've been working on. Love those. This is a Cascade yarn. It's a wool and silk blend, if I'm not mistaken. Then I have another finished object. I'd actually forgotten about this one, so I'm kind of glad I got forced to come upstairs here, even though the lighting's not the best. I've been playing with needle felting, and so I needle felted myself a little sheep picture. The sad part about this is that my sheep kind of look like misshapen mice, especially that little guy over there. Doesn't he look like Mickey? So I'm still working on making the sheep look like sheep. But overall, I kind of like my picture. So anyway, that's the back. If anyone does needle felting and you make like little pictures like this, how do you finish the back side? Like, what do you do with your picture? Does it become like a little hot plate? Do you attach hardware like right to the back and hang it up on your wall? Do you put it in a frame? If you buy people's needle felted stuff, how do they sell it to you? I don't know, let me know, because I want to know what I should do with my picture now. But really, really happy with the way that turned out. And that was actually a kit. Let me see if I can find the package. I think it's right here. This was another acquisition from Maryland Sheep and Wool, because I want to try out needle felting. And now that I'm inspired, I'm planning out some like needle felting painting kits from wool. But I want to get some better wool that I like. Something that's a little coarser and a little bit easier to needle felt. But this was the kit that I got. It is from, oh, there are cards in here somewhere. Hang on a second. It's from Deli's Delights Farm in Louisa, Virginia. So that's their card. This was the Painting with Wool Sheep in Pasture on Moonlit Night kit, which they look similar, right? It's not bad. Did an okay job. I feel like the colors that were in the kit though weren't quite the colors on the front, but that's okay. Like there wasn't a ton of this really, really light color, but it came with wool. I actually have a fair amount left over. It came with the wool backing. It came with some instructions, and it came with one felting needle. You did need to get a 2-inch piece of foam to work on, which that's what mine looks like right there. Yep. So that was fun to do. Enjoyed that immensely. So you might be seeing more needle felting in future finished objects. All right, so that's it, I think, for finished objects. Oh, sorry, not finished objects. Oh, no, that's the beginning of finished objects. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it's been like such a long week. So that was my first finished object. Next finished object. So I had dyed up some roving with a colorway called Fallen Roses. Really, really liked the color, and I was like, I wonder what that looks like on yarn. So I ended up, I wish I brought some in. It's all packed away right now. But I dyed it up on the hemp and merino base. I'm like, wow, I really like this color. And then I dyed it up on my bulky base, which is 100% merino. And I really like this color. I mean, look how pretty that is. So the way I did it, you end up with some sections that are a really pale pink or a pale yellow. And then you get these little splotches of like, kind of like a burnt orange and a yellow and different shades of burgundy and pink. And I was like, I have got to make something out of this because I love, love, love this color. I need to see what it looks like actually knitted up in a swatch. But why do a swatch? I hate swatching. So I decided to do a bandana cowl. And I'm still kind of working on perfecting the pattern. I'm not I'm not quite there yet, but this is what it looks like. That's the back of it. It blocked up a lot wider than I was anticipating. So I think I can make the neck opening. I have a really big head, so I was worried about it not fitting. But I think I can make the neck just a little bit smaller, and that'll give me enough to make the border a little bit wider, because I feel like that back piece where it connects just isn't quite wide enough for me, but this is what it looks like on. Pull my ponytail out. How cute is that? Let me see if I can get it straight. See, because I feel like there's like so much extra here that it doesn't need all that extra. But it is nice because it's not like up around your neck choking you. But I feel like it has just a little bit too much. But it's really nice, and you can just kind of hang down here. I could see it in the winter, like underneath your coat, when you just need a little something extra around your neck, like, which is again why I think it needs to have a slightly smaller neck opening. But you could fold it over and pin, I suppose. But then that way underneath your coat, you've got it around your neck, but it's not bulky and you don't have like ends of scarves going everywhere. Or in the fall or in the spring when, again, you just want a little something extra that's kind of cute, maybe a little bit warmer, but not something scarf-like or really, really heavy. So it just fits around like that quite nicely. You can see in the back, it kind of sits like that. But I feel like, see how you see the little hole between the top of my t-shirt and the cowl? I feel like it needs to be a little bit longer so it hides that, so you don't have a little cold spot in the back of your neck. But it would even be cute in the winter too, like inside at work over like a lightweight sweater. It's just a little bit of a layering piece. So really, really happy with the way that came out. But again, I need to adjust the stitch count and everything a little bit. It's based off of a free pattern online, but I did change it up a little bit. So hopefully I might have that written up soon, specifically for this yarn. Yeah, so I love that. I'm really, really happy with the way that came up. Then I had another finished object. This is the Pridera wrap. It's another free pattern online. This one was actually originally supposed to be 4 colors, but if you remember when I was talking about it before, I kind of started ignoring the pattern because I wanted to use all of the ball of yarn rather than just using some of it and then having some go back in my stash. And so I ended up just doing 3 colors because I was worried that it would block out and stretch, and then I end up with like a Doctor Who scarf that went on for absolute ages. And I didn't really want that. So here, I'm gonna have to kind of move through it, but it's a chevron pattern. And so it has one end, has a little bit of a tail like this. Am I holding it the right way? I'm not even holding it the right way. Let's try that again. So it looks like this, just a little chevron pattern. And it was done holding 2 strands together. And so it goes from this pink, and I've got a little fade section where I held 1 strand of the lighter pink and 1 strand of the darker pink together. And so I went through a little transition. You can see how it like opened up when it blocked. So it's really nice, kind of lightweight. But there's a lot of it, so I feel like it'll be warm, but a good transitional piece or a good like winter piece. And then again, transition from the dark pink over to this gold. And then it ends with, it's falling all over the place, with the arrow of the other end of the chevron. So just like that. And so it's really great. So it's wide enough that you can just like toss it around your shoulders if you want to do kind of just a rectangular wrap. It's also got plenty of extra if you want to actually wrap it around like a scarf. Get it going the right way. And then you've got like the dark pink around your neck, and you've got the gold on one side and the light pink on the other, which I think is a really fabulous combination. You could, because it did block out kind of nice and lightweight, you could double it up and slip it through like the keyhole. And you can kind of decide, do you want the gold in the front? Do you want the pink in the front? Do you want to like wrap them together? I don't know. But anyways, it's a really versatile scarf that I'm excited that I finally got finished. So that took forever. It was really easy to memorize. That was a great like boring knitting piece, but because you had the color changes, it seemed to go a little bit faster. But anyway, so love, love, love this. So this will be up for sale at my future markets. So good luck to whoever gets their hands on it first. But this was really fabulous. And this is actually a discontinued yarn. And so you can't get this anymore. So yeah. All right, so that was our last, I think, finished object. Let me see if I can maybe get my light up a little bit brighter. It's starting to lose the light. Yes, yes. There we go. Okay. What next? I think works in progress next. So I'll do this one. So one of the things I started dyeing up, and I didn't have a skein to bring with me because they're all downstairs right now, or packed away in my farmer's market stuff. But I've been doing what I call my perfect pairings, which is one skein of yarn that is a merino nylon slub. It just has 10% of the nylon in it. It's kind of like a core string, and then the slub is around it. So it's just a little bit in the middle. And that's paired with a Surrey alpaca. Now I've seen a lot of people doing those kind of pairings with the two different yarns, the fingering slub and a lace weight. But a lot of people have been doing it in mohair, and I always think I like mohair, and then I actually start knitting with mohair and I'm like, I hate mohair. So I decided to do a pairing with the fingering slub and a Surrey alpaca, which I like a lot more. I'm really excited about this. But I'm not sure people really understand what the skein is, even though it's labeled. So I'm making a sample to go with it. And if you guys have an opinion, do you like buying the two skeins together as like a pairing, or would you prefer like just a slub packaged and then a Surrey alpaca? And that way you can like, ooh, I'm gonna get two of these, but only one of these, or I only wanna buy this for a shawl and I don't want this. So I've just kind of been deciding if I want to keep them together as a pairing. Some of them are the same exact dye, so I would dye it like the Surrey alpaca just like this one, and some of them are like a solid with the more variegated slub yarn. So let me know in the comments what you prefer. Do you like having a pairing that you can purchase, or would you prefer to have them separate and then you could buy them as you wish? Let me know what you think. I just haven't decided yet. But this is my Lakeside colorway. I just dyed up a few more, and I'm actually out of this base until I get a chance to order more, which will probably be after we've had a couple more markets and I have a little more cash in the bank. You know how that goes. But I love this color. I don't know if I can even get it to zoom or to, not zoom, what's it called? Focus. Focus. Yeah, maybe not. But it's like blues and purples, a little bit of white. There's an occasional pop of like green in there. So it's really very kind of a lakey color. And then it has kind of a pale blue complement to it. Now, actually, when I re-dyed this colorway, I've actually made this yarn a smidge darker. So when you pair them together, it wasn't quite so stripy. I really like it, so I might leave it that way. But so what I'm making with my two skeins is the Lolani shawl, which is, let me see if I can get it untangled. Here we go. It's kind of a trapezoidal shawl. Do I have that backwards? I do have it backwards. A trapezoidal shawl that has raglan shaping up toward the top. So you can see how it's starting shorter up here and then it's increasing. And you can see kind of the lines where it's a raglan. So when you go to wear this shawl, like it wraps and sits around your neck so it doesn't fall off, which I'm really excited about. I think that's a really clever idea. And I also like the fact that the stripes are getting thicker when you get away from the neckline. So you can see how they started out thinner and now they're adding a couple more rows in. And it just kind of alternates between the Surrey alpaca or mohair, if that's what you want to get, and the slub yarn, and it is just absolutely full of texture, and it's really soft, and it's, oh my gosh, it's just absolutely gorgeous. So I love both this base of yarn as well as this shawl pattern. So I've been working on this. It's been getting a break because it's been really hot and the Surrey alpaca is really fuzzy. So I haven't been working on this quite as much, but now that I have it out of the bag again, I want to start working on it again. Isn't that gorgeous? Like, it's nice and lightweight, very open with the gauge. Like, it's not a tight gauge at all. I think this is a size 5 needle, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm just really loving the way that that's working up. So that's a work in progress. I still have a while left, obviously, on that. And then my other big work in progress is the perennial garden shawl, which I have been doing in my merino hemp base. And so I'm using mulberry and blush right now. And then that, I didn't bring it with me, but that fallen roses colorway on the hemp merino blend is going to be my third color. So I love kind of that combination. And so the shawl itself, again, triangular, starting from a corner and working its way out. I've got the back side again. There we go. And I'm absolutely loving this stitch pattern. So the one that I saw in person, it seemed like flatter. And so I think when I block it out, it'll lose some of this texture, but it almost feels like a waffle weave right now. That's the back side. So it is really kind of reversible. You've got like a striped section here, and it's all like slip stitches that's creating all this color work. So you're only really ever working with one color at a time. And then the back side, that striped section looks like that. And so it is really kind of a neat pattern. Having fun with it. I think I have 2 more sections with this color combination to go. I have to finish up this one, and then there's another striped section. And I can't remember if there's another one of these. I don't know. And then it switches to have the mulberry, and then I'll put the fallen roses with it, which I think that'll be a really neat combination. But yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. It's most of the time a 4-row repeat on the pattern. And so it's really easy to memorize. It's great for working on like in front of the television or whatever. You just can't forget what it is you're doing. Sometimes I've had to go back if I was like purl one, slip one, and then all of a sudden I just started purling all of them. I was like, ah! So I had to tear that back. That's okay, but it's been working out pretty quickly. And I just love this yarn because it's a little bit rustic. When it's held, it's not really being held together, but when it's doing the slip stitch, it's almost like a double fabric. So it's nice and thick and squishy. So I think this is going to be really awesome when it's finished. So again, that's the perennial garden shawl. And you just need 3 colors, 1 main color and 2 contrasting colors. So, and again, that's on my merino hemp base. All right. I think that's everything in my knitting pile. We did my fails. We did my finished. We did my works in progress. Slightly out of order, but you get what I'm doing. So since I'm losing the light, I'll stop with this, but I'm gonna then dive into some of my other videos that I've taken over the last like 2.5 weeks, which includes some of my new friends. All right, see you at the end. Hey guys, once again coming at you from the car, this time with Pippa. Pippa, say hi to the people. There's Pippa. We are so excited because we are on our way to our first ever dog herding lesson. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to take any footage. I always forget when I'm in the moment. But hopefully you might get a shot or 2 of Pippa. And I will recap afterwards to see how she did. So keep your fingers crossed for me. All right, guys, the sheep are officially here. Now, please realize that everything I say is just me trying to figure things out. So if you have sheep of your own or are getting your own sheep, please don't necessarily use me for advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and we'll see how it goes from there. Same thing if you already have sheep. I kind of recognize that everyone does things different ways. So I appreciate if you leave in the comments ideas or suggestions that you have. If you see me doing something where you're like, wait, no, that's terrible, please let me know. But also realize I'm kind of a newbie and please be kind and gentle. So what I did to get ready for these guys, let me flip you around. So I spent some time getting the fence line ready. It's not a woven, woven wire. I'm trying to remember what it was. Woven wire fence, barbed wire on top. It was a pretty good fence, but it just had a few places that were kind of sagging, so I put in another fence post just to kind of shore it up a little bit. And if there was a place where the barbed wire was coming down, I just replaced the pin to put that up. That's the whole pasture right there. Super excited, plenty of room. Then I also got a tub for some water. Now I do have another one coming. I have a friend who had an extra. So that'd be really great when it's really hot here in the summer or during lambing season when they need extra water. And then I've also got some sheep mineral over here on the side. I think I'm gonna go to the store and get some just plain salt as well, just to kind of make sure they have enough of that when it gets hot out. And that was pretty much it. Then I waited for the sheep to arrive and here they are, guys. They are super friendly, but they have been on a trailer all day and they've been in a barn for a couple of weeks because they were watching their health just to make sure they were good to come out here. So they're a little bit shy right now, but they're super happy on their pasture. This particular land has had animals on it before, sheep and horses and goats and whatnot, but it hasn't been grazed for a little while. So you can see they've got plenty of forage. So these are 5 of my ladies. They are Rommeldale CVMs. I have another lamb that I'll show you in a minute. She's keeping the ram company currently, but she's too young to breed anyway, so that's not a big deal to have her over there. And then I'll have a few more sheep coming in a few days as soon as I can get them transported. But those will be Leicester Longwolves coming from Colonial Williamsburg. Now this big lady that you see straight in the middle here apparently has always wanted to be a leader in the flock, but she was never the oldest, never the biggest. But with her new mini flock, she is both the biggest and the oldest. And she is taking her leadership opportunity very seriously, as you can see. All right, we will leave these guys to get to it. And I will try to come back out and get some more pictures of them once they settle in. Sorry if this video is a little grainy. I don't know if I can get too close to these guys. They're still a little skittish. But the one in the front there is my ram lamb. He's still kind of small, but he'll get bigger. He's been a little sad because he had a little worm problem, so he had to be in the barn for a while. So he's just now getting back to his old self. I do have a wether that will be coming soon. I'll show you him when he gets here. But in the meantime, just so he wasn't lonely, you can see the other little teeny tiny sheep right behind him. That's a ewe lamb, but she's not ready to be bred at all. So we're not too worried about her getting with lamb, if you will. So the woman who sold me the sheep said that they'll be just fine hanging out here together. And then when it's ready for breeding time, I can put everybody together in the big pasture. But she said this guy probably, well, not guy, the gal will probably not have lambs this first year, which is totally fine. But look how precious she is. I'll see if I can get a little closer. I think the hardest part of today is driving away and leaving my new babies in their field. I'm so nervous. I'm sure they're gonna be fine. But I'm not really a morning person, but I can guarantee you I'm gonna be up so early tomorrow just so I can come back and say hello to everybody. So this is exciting. Hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow and have a little more footage then. All right, so that was an adventure, and I probably looked ridiculous, but it looked like poor Veritas there had his front legs stuck in his coat. The front of it's a little bit long, so I'm gonna go see if I can find something to maybe pin him up to help keep that from happening again. That was weird, but I did get his drench into him, kind of, sort of. It's also all over me and all over his face, so hopefully he gets that licked off pretty soon. But he is on the move now, so I'll show you him in patches, and I'll also probably grab them some more water, because if you noticed, I had that white bucket. They've been liking to lay over here in the shade, and so I just brought him over a bucket of water, so I think I'll refill it for him. All right, so hang on, I'll show you that. So here they are now. You can see he's up and eating, and Patches is dutifully following along. My gosh, they're so precious. But I was really worried about him because apparently before I got him, he was fighting some worms and he wasn't bouncing back as well as he should have. And so the couple of days before I got him, he was being drenched just to give him a little bit more energy, especially for the long ride on the trailer. And as soon as he got off the trailer on Sunday, he kind of perked up. He was out in the field, he was grazing, happy as a clam. But then yesterday, when I was here, he was just kind of laying in the shade back in that little thicket area. And he would get up when I went near him, but he wasn't really interested in like running away from me. So I was a little bit worried, but I didn't want to stress him out by catching him to drench him. But it looks like he is doing just fine now that he's not caught up in his stupid coat. So see, I'm on the fence about coating because I would prefer to have them just kind of natural free range. However, especially with these guys, the value of their fleeces literally double if they're coated versus uncoated. And if I want to process it myself, it makes it so much easier just to keep them clean in between times. So, I don't know. I haven't decided, but I don't like the way his foot was stuck in there today. Because if I hadn't come to check on him or I waited until later, he would have been stuck underneath that tree without being able to come get his snack. So he's clearly got an appetite right now. All right, let's go and get these guys some fresh water. Right, before I go over to the pump and show you that, this farm has a rain catchment system. They've got a trough on this side. It's kind of hard to see. They have a trough on this side that catches water from the roof. And then you can see she also puts out some other buckets to catch water. And then there's a rain barrel over on this side. So it's really convenient to not have to pump and carry water all the time. The only problem right now is that a lot of these buckets in the trough in particular are pretty green. So I'll keep an eye on the weather. And right before we have another big storm, I think I'll come and dump all the water from all the buckets in the trough and everything and give them a good scrub, and then that way in the storm they'll fill back up. Just because she hasn't had a problem, but I'm a little worried about my sheep drinking green water. It's okay. All right, so I don't know how many hands this is gonna take to do. Whoops, almost fell on the boards here. But she has this cool little pump set up as well. And so all you have to do is go up and down. It pumps out this really nice, cool, fresh water. So I'll go ahead and pump them up a bucket and carry it back to their shady space. All right, so I came out to my ram field because I was gonna hang out with the little ewe and the ram, try to get the little ewe to come over and say hello, and then talk a little bit about how Pippa's herding lessons went. Had a little bit of a panic attack because I went to their favorite little hidey hole in the woods, like right over behind me here, and they weren't there. And I'm like, oh my God, where are the sheep? But it turns out that they found their way to their little shed. So let's go say hi, see how they're doing. I don't want them to feel cornered or anything. So I might slip in and say hello, and then I'll be right back with you guys. All right, so I still haven't been able to get Patches and Veritas to come over and take a cookie from me, but they were just kind of circling around the shed, so I figured I would sit over here on the corner of the shed in half shade. It's not really good shade over here. Hoping that they would circle around again and maybe come say hi, but they've decided to take off across the field and do some grazing along the fence line where there's more shade. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch them and roast in the sun for a little bit and maybe tell you guys a little bit about Pippa's first herding lesson. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, so I'm gonna kind of try to document what we've been working on. First thing to know is that I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form, so don't listen to what I'm saying and be like, oh great, I can use this to teach my dog how to herd. In reality, this is just the advice that a trainer gave to me based on my dog. And so you still want to go actually out and find a trainer, because one of their big strengths is knowing how to look at your dog and be able to kind of tell you your dog's herding style and what your dog and what you as a shepherd need to learn how to do. So again, I'm just kind of documenting what we're doing. Please don't take this as any sort of professional advice. So Saturday, today's now Wednesday. Saturday we went out for our first lesson. It was great. Got a little lost finding it because I had to go down like this back country dirt road that's like private road, no trespassing. It was a little nerve-wracking, but I eventually found it. And we got there. The lady was really nice, greeted us, and she's like, I gotta go put some real shoes on and find the waiver form, so why don't you and Pippa just kind of wander around and sniff for a little bit, and then I'll be right with you. And so I got out, and Pippa and I were kind of chilling and walking around, seeing what all animals were there. And she spotted a field with donkeys in it, and she just like perked up and like trotted on over, but she was so good. She wanted to sniff, she wanted to take a look at all the poo that was around, because again, this is a working farm, so a lot of animals had passed through the different pathways between the fields. So she sniffed around, looked at the donkeys. We found a couple of donkeys that were wandering just outside of the pen. We didn't get too close though, because as I suspected, they were guardian donkeys, and so probably would not have been the friendliest if Pippa decided to run up on them. But she was really good, didn't bark or anything, didn't pull on her leash. She just wanted to kind of stand and look at everyone, which I felt was a really good sign. So that was exciting starting out. Then the trainer had me, Pippa doesn't have any say in this, had me sign a waiver. I think that's going to be pretty standard for anyone who does these lessons, just because working with livestock can be unpredictable, it can be dangerous. Sorry, I don't have a stand for my phone, so I'm trying to kind of get a comfortable position here. So don't be surprised if you have to sign a waiver. And I was actually kind of joking when she handed it to me. It was like 3 pages long. I'm like, I gotta sit here and read all of this. And so I jokingly said, is this basically like one of those things where if a sheep takes me out, I'm agreeing that it's not your fault? And she kind of laughed, and she's like, yeah, and there's other things in there too. Like if somebody takes your picture and puts it up on social media, you're okay with that. And if you throw a dog toy into the lake and your dog jumps in and starts to drown, and then you jump in to save your dog and you start to drown, and then your friend jumps in to save you and they start to drown, and it takes 2 of us to pull everybody out, it's also not our fault. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like there's a story behind that. So apparently that had actually happened. people are stupid everywhere. So don't be surprised that you have to sign a waiver. It's not nearly as terrifying as what it sounds. So then we started to work with some animals. And I think this was kind of the instinct testing phase of it, but I felt a lot more comfortable with this person than watching those videos on YouTube. Basically, we went over to a field and she's like, oh good, the sheep are back there. And it wasn't a huge field, but there was a big distance back and all the sheep were kind of huddled toward the back corner. And she's like, all right, so you see how the land kind of juts out that way? It was kind of like it went straight and then there's like a lake over here and then the land kind of went out in a little peninsula. She's like, yeah, follow that, try to get behind the sheep, and you want to watch their heads. So don't look at your dog. You can feel what the dog's doing at the end of her leash. You want to look at which direction the sheep are looking because that's the direction they're going to want to go in. Like you can tell which way they're going to want to go. And she's like, okay, so go out, I'm gonna stand here, and you bring me the sheep. Okay, I got this, it's gonna be fine. So Pippa and I head out, and I'm watching the sheep, and I can see what they're doing, and I'm like, okay, we're swinging wide, they're paying us attention, Pippa's looking at them, and they all bolt in the opposite direction. I'm like, oh crud. So we had to go out further. And anyways, we got them turned around and trotted them all back in, and put them through a gate. So right out of the box, Pippa and I were able to herd some sheep and they went in the direction that we wanted them to go and life was good. But I learned a couple lessons just from that. You have to really watch your distance and make sure that you don't get too close because the group will want to split and run in the wrong direction. So that was kind of our first lesson that we found out firsthand. But once we got the sheep herded in a direction, she's like, okay, let's go ahead and try some goats now. So we went over and we found some goats and they had separated into two groups. So Pippa and I went to go get the group that was farther away kind of through the woods. So we circled around just like with the sheep. This time we kind of spooked them though because they took off running. Fortunately, the rest of the goats that we were supposed to go back and get saw them. Right, so I've had a little bit of a change of location. Even sitting in the shade in the other field, it got so hot that my phone overheated and I had to stop filming and let it cool down for a little while. So I spent some time kind of chasing Patches and Veritas around the field. I did manage to touch Patch's neck a couple of times, just very gently. I think the key is going to be making sure that she can still be next to Veritas. She absolutely adores him. If he gets too far away, she starts baaing and then she'll trot after him. It's so cute. But I'll win her over in the end. I know I will. But still no cookie taking yet, but we'll get there. So I was talking about the goats and herding the goats. Well, we spooked the goats. They took off. Fortunately, the rest of the goats followed them. But the big lesson there is that despite the best of plans, the animals are going to go where the animals are going to go. So you kind of have to plan in your herding. Sorry, there's a garbage truck going by. Let them pass. So you kind of have to plan when you're moving the animals, what routes they like and which ones they're most likely to take, and then kind of work inside of that. Or if you don't want them to go that way, to make a plan on how you're going to head them off and not let them bolt in the direction that they're going to want to go. So that was the big lesson there. And then the other lesson, I've got a mosquito on my foot. The other lesson was that goats are sometimes good for new dogs learning to herd on because they're a little more assertive, I guess, than sheep are. They'll still run away and be willing to be herded, but sometimes they'll turn around and give the dog a little bit of sass as well. And so Pippa got everybody through the gate, we closed the gate, and there was one sheep that kind of turned around and kind of like lowered its head and like looked at her. But Pippa just kind of sat there and kind of looked back, and she didn't lunge forward, she didn't run away. And so apparently that was a really good sign that she wasn't afraid of the goats, but she also wasn't going to go in for a confrontational challenge either. Oh, she just got up. I wonder if she's going to come over. Want a cookie? Tierney, do you want a cookie? I think that's Tierney. I'm not entirely sure. A lot of them look the same and I can't quite tell them apart yet. We'll see. But they like laying over here in the shade to get a little bit of a breeze off the water around the corner there. So this is kind of like their happy place. So we did goats, and then we went over and did geese. I'm not a big fan of geese. They scare me a little bit, and actually one hissed at me at one point. I'm like, oh, no. But so again, we went into the same thing. We herded the geese back out through a gate. This one was really hard because A, they were fast. Then there were also a lot of them, and so they would all gaggle in one direction. They would all turn around and gaggle back in the other direction. Sometimes it would split into half, and you would have two groups, and that was a pain. Our big lesson there is that you have to be willing to kind of back off and to really watch their heads and which direction they're going to go, and to also be careful about separating out one animal. So we had gotten everybody through the gate except for one of the geese. It had gotten separated off and ran away. But when I went to turn Pippa to go get that geese, she's like, no, just leave it. Don't worry about it. Because when you separate one animal off from the pack and then go after it, you're basically telling the dog this is the weak one and we need to take it out. And you don't want your dog taking out any of your animals. So we just kind of left that one there and worked with the other geese that we had herded into a little X pen. And the goal there was to get Pippa to run in front of me and kind of run around the pen in circles. We weren't quite as successful at that because Pippa didn't really care at that point and she just wanted to sit next to me in the shade. So we kind of gave up on that and headed back over to sheep again. This time the trainer moved several sheep into kind of a little corral, smaller pen sort of type of area. And she had a bunch of cones and tubs that she had in the center. And so our first goal was to get Pippa to sit on one of the tubs. And Pippa was not too keen on that, so I had to keep picking her up and putting her on the tub and telling her to sit on the tub. And I kind of had to hold her in place. I don't think I gave her any cookies at that point. And then the trainer came over and held Pippa in place on top of the tub. And I had to go over and pet the sheep. And Pippa had to stand there and watch me pet the sheep on the other side of the pen away from her. It made her really anxious because she's like, no, those are dangerous, come back. So I had to go back and pet her and tell her she was being good, and then go back and pet the sheep and go back and forth to try to get her more comfortable with the fact that I'm around bigger animals and that she would have to stay on her tub if that's where I told her to stay. And then we did some work where she had to like stay near the fence and kind of chase the sheep around in a circle. I was terrible at that because if the sheep are fast, and so if they catch up behind you, you have to turn and let the dog chase them in the other direction. That just kind of blew my mind for a minute. So, but hopefully now that I've wrapped my mind around it, I'll know for next time. Oh my gosh, look. Do you want a cookie? I can't see where you are. Cookie. Come here, baby. Oop, I scared her. Never mind. Okay, never mind. We'll just wait and let her do her thing over here. See if she decides to say hello. Photobomb. Anyway, so we did that. And then we went over to a hay feeder. I don't have a hay feeder out here because there's plenty of grass for right now, so I don't need to feed hay. So I haven't bought one yet. But basically, again, I was trying to get Pippa to go around in a circle ahead of me, kind of simulating her having to go ahead around a flock and make kind of a flock sandwich. The idea is for her to go on the other side, me to be on the other side, and all the sheep would be in the middle, or the animals or whatever I'm herding. And then I would be able to walk backwards and she would be able to drive the animals toward me. But the problem is getting her to go on the other side of an object away from me. I can get her to come toward me and then stop and me go on the other side of something, but making her take the initiative to go around the other side has been, it's a trash truck again, has been tougher. And to help with that, I have a livestock dividing pole. I got it from Tractor Supply. I got the 45-inch one because that's all they had. They also had a 60-inch one, but that was way too long. The one that the trainer had was a little bit shorter, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to find one of the shorter poles. I think it's like 36 inches, because the 45-inch pole is a little unwieldy. So that'll be nice when I'm actually working with the sheep, but if we're working with Pippa in a small area, it's, I don't know, it just doesn't work out quite as well. The idea with that is that one end of the pole is for Pippa, and the other end is for the sheep. So I'm being bitten by mosquitoes again. Oh, it's so itchy out here. And I would use one end of the pole to kind of poke her in the shoulder or in the backside to kind of encourage her to go away from me. But again, she just kind of jumps out of the way of the pole. So we're still working on making that work. So we walked away from the lesson with 2 pieces of homework. One was getting Pippa to sit on her tub. I'll see if I can insert a picture here. We started working on it, and basically I picked her up, put her on the tub, didn't let go of her, and had her sit, and then gave her a cookie. And then I just kind of kept feeding her cookies, saying, on your tub, on your tub. And now we're to the point where she'll jump up on it and she'll have a seat and get her cookie. And then I'm making sure I release her with an okay. So that way she doesn't think that going up there is the trick and then she doesn't actually have to stay there, because that would be bad. And we've also been playing Kitchen Island cookie toss. I've been having her go, so oftentimes the dogs and I like to play cookie toss, and basically I'll take a bunch of small training treats and all the dogs will sit wherever they want to in like the kitchen or the living room, and I'll just toss cookies to them and they try to catch them. And if they miss, they have to go sniff them out and figure out where the cookie went, which is tons of fun. But for Pippa, I'm not letting her get a cookie unless she's on the other side of the island opposite from me. So I'm hoping that's going to help her with her separation a little bit, but we haven't gotten a chance to practice actually walking around an object using the livestock dividing pole. So still got to do that. But I have until Saturday. We're gonna have another lesson then, and I hope Pippa does just as well, and I hope I do better. So that'll be a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, that might have actually been a biting fly. I don't know, it's a mess. My legs are all a bit up because I've been walking through the field so much, but I don't have any, ow. That time I jammed my finger when I went to hit it. Being punished. I need to get pants. I really need to get pants. All right, so I'm gonna go and see if I can feed these guys a couple of cookies, maybe take a picture or 2, and then I'll check back in later. Hey, it's Saturday again, and Pippa had her second herding lesson this morning, which was boatloads of fun. Pippa did a great job. She actually was able to go off leash today with the animals. She really took her on your tub lesson to heart, because as soon as she saw a tub, she jumped right up on it. She used it when the animals were running around and she was kind of nervous. She'd get up on her tub, and that was great. I got run over a couple of times, which was fine. Wasn't Pippa's fault at all, but it's tough to figure out kind of where to place yourself, because you're trying to make an animal sandwich, right? With Pippa on one side, the sheep in the middle, and you on the other side. But Pippa's really fast, and especially when you're in a small area, Pippa can move the sheep really, really fast. And so I kept ending up in like the middle of the stampede. So that was kind of interesting. I got to figure that one out. But we moved some sheep around. Actually did that a couple of times, and that was good. We also got to work with goats, and actually Pippa just got to move them. So she learned the walk command, which is to walk behind the sheep and drive them forward. And then once she got them where they were going, the trainer just kind of let her go have fun, and Pippa just took off, and she was going around the outside and kind of chasing them around. So it was really great that she was staying on the outside of the goats and not trying to divide them up the middle. I was getting a little nervous because she would kind of outpace the goats on the outside and then kind of cut in front of them. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't get stepped on. But she was fast, she was paying attention. That was great. And the trainer said that that's okay to let her do that sometimes, where she's not doing anything wrong. Like I didn't give her a command to do anything, but I told her to go forward, and she just kind of took things into her own paws, if you will. But it was fun for her. And so the idea is to kind of alternate, letting her have a little bit of fun as long as nobody's getting hurt and she's not doing anything wrong, and alternating that with the actual hard, listen to the command stuff. Then we also went and we worked with some ducks, and that one was interesting. I think I was doing more work in the herding than she was. But that one was kind of tough because there was a pen of dogs right next to the ducks, and so every once in a while the dogs would bark, and that would scare Pippa. So I had to kind of lead her back over to get around behind the ducks and flush them out. Let's see, is there anything else we did? She got to go down to the lake and put her feet in the water because she was getting tired. It is still really, really hot outside. Yeah, so got to work with all those animals, and that was great. So I'm gonna keep working on our lessons and keep working on getting Pippa to kind of be on the other side from me, like not having to stand by me all the time. But I think it was really helpful today to let her off leash, and so that way she would be able to kind of get used to being able to go where she wants to and not feeling like she's connected to me with the leash. Therefore, she doesn't have to be like right next to me. She's not on the leash. But she did do a good job in not running away. So a couple of times she kind of went off to investigate and do her own thing, but she came right back, which was really great. Let's see, what else? Oh, part of our homework, so hopefully we'll get some more footage of this later. I can't do it today. But we're gonna work on our endurance. She gets tired after a little while. Like, she'll do some herding and she'll do some exercises, and then she wants to kind of lay and chillax for a little while. More physically tired than mentally tired. She just kind of is go, go, go. But we're gonna start building up our stamina, especially because it's been so hot out. So I'm gonna start bringing her to the field to meet the sheep, and not necessarily to do anything with the sheep because I don't want them to get stressed out when it's really hot, but to just start kind of walking the fence line and the perimeters to get Pippa used to following me around and having a job to do. And then that way, hopefully she'll build up her stamina and be able to be out and be working for a little bit longer before she gets tired and wants to lay down. So I'm here, and kind of see in the background a little bit, at one of my fields. This is the one where Patches and Veritas are. And Veritas is looking a little meh again. He was seeming better on, let's see, today's Saturday, so Wednesday and Thursday, he was seeming pretty perky. Again, it was hot, so he was kind of laying in the shade, but when I went near him, he popped right up. He went out of the shed that he was hanging out on, and went out and was grazing and walking around and things like that. So I thought he was doing really well. But then yesterday, which was Friday, I got here to go check on him and Patches, and he was laying in the shed, not getting up. Noticed he was stuck in his coat again. That stupid thing is too big, so I'm really mad about that. I don't know if they just put too big of a coat on him, or if it's because he's not, or he just was recently sheared, so he doesn't have a lot of wool on him right now, or he's looking a little bit thin. He feels very thin, actually. And so that's why it's too big. So I ran over to Walmart and got him some binder clips. They didn't have any good like blanket pins. I'm gonna order some, but I got binder clips. I figured that way I can kind of clip his coat, and if they come off, it's not a big deal, just lose a couple binder clips, but at least that way he won't get poked and hopefully he won't get stuck again. But he refused to leave the shed. Now I know it's hot, but he was just kind of like nibbling at some straw in the corner, and that's what Patches was doing too. And I was worried about her because she absolutely adores him and follows him around, but if he's hanging out inside and she needs to go get food or water, I don't want her to be afraid to be on her own. So I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I gotta figure out what's going on. So I texted the person I bought the sheep from, and she called me right back, and we were talking. And so I ended up going to Tractor Supply, and I got a small, like 7-gallon, like feed container, so I could put water inside the shed. And I got a second little, like 2-bowl, like food dish, basically. And I got some Timothy and alfalfa pellets, kind of the mixed bag. And so I came back and I got the water filled up and got some Timothy in there. And as soon as I put the hay pellets down, Veritas immediately went over and started like nosing and kind of nibbling at them. He didn't stay long to eat, but at least he was noticing and was interested in it. So I'm gonna go in a second and see how much he ate, maybe bring him a little bit more and refill his water. Now the problem is we think maybe he has coccidia. The sheep that were here before were struggling with it. Williamsburg's sheep were struggling with it. I think it's just so hot and he was stressed out. Now that's probably what he picked up. And so to kind of test that theory, I went to go get some medication, but because everyone's sheep have been struggling with it and everybody's livestock's been struggling with it lately, the Tractor Supply close to here didn't have anything. So I had to wait until I was going to Williamsburg to go to work, and I managed to find a container of Corid. This does come also in a powdered form. It comes in a gigantic, I think it's like a gallon, maybe it's not a gallon, I don't know, much larger container, but it's kind of expensive. So I went with the smaller one. And with a little bit of math, there's 16 ounces, which is good for 100 gallons of water. So let's say I have about 5 gallons of water in the little 7-gallon feed tub. That means that I would need about 5 milliliters of this to go into that tub. And so I just happen to have a syringe. I actually use these guys for dyeing my yarn, but I had an extra clean one that I hadn't used yet. So I grabbed that, and so I'll be able to measure out the 5 milliliters that I need to put into his water. I think that's it, but fingers crossed that he's drinking and eating and feeling a little bit better, because when I was fixing his coat yesterday, I gave him like a little pat on the back and he just feels really thin. And I have to have my ram. It is essential to my plan to make this operation work. I have to have a ram for breeding season. But I don't want to start flushing him yet, because then I don't want Patches to get fat too, because she's in good condition. So I'm kind of nervous to go and check on him, but wish me luck. I'll see if I can get some footage of him. All right, so you can see Veritas hanging out in the corner over there by his mineral dish. I'm gonna see if I can get him up. I forgot the drench in the car, but I'll see if I can get him up and moving around. Let's see what happens. All right, come on, buddy. Let's get up. Yeah, boy. You're stuck again. Oh my God. See, I'm hating this whole coating thing. Let me see if I can get him untangled again. All right, so Veritas's foot is out of that back strap now. He was fighting me tooth and nail when I was trying to get that off of him, so that's a good sign. But then he just went back to laying down again. Now, I do know he must have had something to drink, because he was peeing a second ago, though I didn't see him poo at all. Here's what the water situation looks like. So that 7-gallon tub was just about full yesterday, so they've clearly, not quite full, but it had a lot more in it yesterday, so they've clearly had something to drink. And it looks like their food pellets had been disturbed. I added some more to it. So let's go ahead and get some Corid into that water. All right, so we said we needed 5 milliliters of this. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. There's the 5, there we are. Too much. All right, so there we go, 5 milliliters. Over here's the water. Just gonna add it in. Set that back into my food cup over here, put the lid back on. And then I pulled another bucket of water out of the pump. It's a hand pump, so it's just groundwater. That's why doesn't look completely clear. Don't panic, I'm not giving him bad water. All right, I think I need 2 hands to do this part, so hang on a second. All right, so you're upside down. There we go. So I figure that mixed it up nicely. That should be enough water for today. I'll come back and check on them, obviously, tomorrow. I would come back tonight, but I do have to work. They've been eating their minerals. Let's see if I can break that up a little bit. This side was all wet because it got rained on the other night, but I was hoping it was going to dry out, but it's still wet. Now that my hand's a little gross, rinse it off in their water. A little extra mineral won't hurt anything. Get that hay out, or that straw out. But they are spending a lot of time in here, so I think I might need to get another bale of straw. Let's see, since we're in here, let's see if Patches will say hi. Been trying to earn her trust, but because Veritas is so mistrustful, she hasn't wanted to say hi. And I'm hoping when she gets over with the other ewes, she'll start to trust me a little bit. But I'm glad that she's still kind of running around, because she's nice and perky. Debating if I want to go drench him or not. If I go to touch you, will you get back up? No, oh my goodness, buddy. Oh, there we go. Whoop. Back up again. Now, is that too tight? Don't want it to be too tight on you, buddy. as I'm like showing you my feet instead of his coat. I don't want it to be too tight. I think it'll work. You can see the binder clip system that I've set up. It's not working fabulously, but it's better than nothing. You can tell he keeps laying on his poo in here, so the coat's definitely doing its job. I know, buddy. I know. Say hi to the people. Do not feel good. I know. I know. Poor guy. Gotta get better, buddy. Oh yeah. And of course, Patches is the one eating all the pellets. That's okay. It's funny, there's nothing in that bucket, and that's what he's going after. Get some minerals. Yes, good boy. See, Patches absolutely adores him. Everything he does, she wants to do too. Now I'm mostly standing here watching because they're blocking my exit. I don't want to scare them away from their minerals. They need those. That leg strap still looks really long. So it looks like it's kind of ripping. So I'll make sure when I get him a replacement coat, because it's the right length. It's just really, really long, so he's not filled out. I think I'm going to order enough replacement coats that everybody can have a new coat. And that way, the ones that everybody's wearing right now, I can take off and wash. So that one's really dirty. Here goes Patches. All right, he's up, he's walking, got some water. His little buddy's hopefully gonna show him where the pellets are. Don't need the hay, guys. Or not the hay, the straw. If all else fails, I do have some wood chips, like some pine chips at home, that I might come and put in his little corner that he seems to like. And that way it's a little drier and a little cleaner. All right, let's go check on the other ladies. Ooh. And here we have the ladies in the shade. So I'm not totally worried about Veritas not moving around so much, considering he doesn't feel well, but he's still walking okay, because even these ladies would prefer to be in the shade. Hi! Oh my goodness, hang on one second. Ah. I'm caught on my own bungee cord here. Sorry about that, guys. Oh my goodness. Hi. So I think I mixed up some of my sheep. The one I thought was the bottle baby, I don't know if it is. Hi. This is, if I can remember your name, Yulia. I think this is Yulia. Hi. Say hi to the people. Oh my goodness. I didn't bring any cookies. I'm so sorry. I didn't bring any cookies. I'm so sorry. Come on, let's go say hi to everybody else. Stretching. Hi, good girl. How are you? I think this one's Tierney. And this one's Denise, I think. It's hard to tell from their pictures. I'm gonna have to look at their numbers. Oh, itchy face. And this one, I think, is Unica. I always mix up Unica and Yulia, not because they look the same. They look very different. I can't remember whose name is who. I can't remember if I said this before, but the woman who I got the sheep from named her sheep alphabetically. So the first year she had lambs, they all started with A names, and then the second year were all B names. And so it made it easier to remember who was born when. So you can see like who all is the same age. This is my old lady over here. This is Pisces. Hi. Hi. Oh my goodness. And she is a big girl. Yes, you are. Lovely lady. How are you? So these guys are nice and friendly, and I'm really looking forward to. Pisces just got up. Really, really looking forward to when it's fall and cool. So I think these ladies will be even more sociable. I'm trying to figure out who they're smelling for. I wonder if they're interested in the ram or if they're curious about Patches. Look how big she is. My goodness. Let me back up and see if I can get a better shot. Here's my ladies. Everybody in the background showing me their butts. Alright, let's see how much water we have. Still have enough. I'll give it another day and then I'll give them a refill. Looks like their minerals got wet again. Come on, dry out. Some of the water tipped out. Maybe it'll dry a little faster. Alright, see what happens there. Oh yeah, look at this fleece though. How gorgeous. You are gorgeous. Look how gorgeous that is. Oh, I can't wait until she's ready to be sheared. Of course, that's not gonna be for a while before I have a fleece from each of these guys, but I cannot wait. Hi, pretty girl. Today is Sunday, and look who's up and at it. He was up and standing at the water dish when I came in, so I'm hoping everything is gonna be okay. Patches is hanging out in the corner, but I think she's looking perky, just laying down. It is so hot today. I cannot even explain to you how hot it is outside. So the fact that he is up, even though he's not real perky, is absolutely amazing. I think everything is gonna be okay, guys. And some water was drank, and I actually refilled his dish over here, so that had definitely been eaten out of. All good signs, so yay! It's Monday, and look who is out of his house and eating. It's a little bit cooler today. It's only like 91 right now, I think. And he is definitely, I can't even talk anymore, definitely looking perkier. They had eaten all of their pellets, not as much water as yesterday, but I also think they might have been outside and drinking some of the outside water. So I am super excited that he is looking well. I think that just kind of shows how fast sheep kind of go back and forth from being perfectly fine to at death's door to being okay again. So thanks for joining me. I know this video was a little bit long, but I am going to try in the future to kind of do the same style where I'm kind of filming a little bit throughout the week so that you're not just sitting with me in my studio or on my back porch or whatever, thinking about how bad my lighting is. It gives you a little more inside the action as well. It is my goal though to make some of the videos a little bit shorter so that way you're getting more snippets more often. It's just for this kind of stretch of 2.5 weeks. It's just worked out that I haven't been able to film my beginning and my exit video, and so I've just kept collecting clip after clip after clip. But I hope you enjoyed hearing about Pippa's herding lessons. We won't have another one of those for probably a few weeks. And I hope you enjoyed my sheep because I'm really enjoying them, but I'll keep you up to date on all my projects. Let me know what you're doing down in the comments, and I'll see you at the next farmer's market. Bye!